It seems everybody these days around sports is very much interested in the Kyler Murray situation. Will he choose baseball? Will he choose football? It is so compelling because not only is this story and his decision about sports, it's also very much about life. Beginning with number one, very clear, it is still the ultimate dream of any collegiate athlete here in 2019 to get scouted and drafted and ultimately turn pro, to make a living off the sport that you love playing. But we're also finding out here that it apparently complicates things to a great degree if two different sports are after you at the same time. In fact, maybe even it's burdensome. And I know what you're thinking here. There are two potential great outcomes of either being an NFL quarterback or a major league outfielder, but getting to the decision of which one to choose and which one is ultimately going to be the better fit, that decision has to be somewhat of a burden. And that brings me to number two. Kyler Murray just turned 21 years old. Yeah, you know what? He's about to make a huge adult decision. He's surrounded by adults, and a lot of times on the field, well, he plays like an adult, clearly. But the point is, he's still 21, about to make this huge lifelong decision. It's going to have impacts on him now, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years down the road, what he chooses right now, just turning 21. I should have said this right off the top. I suppose I'm slightly biased because I'd obviously love for him to choose baseball, wear the white cleats of the Oakland A's. I think that would suit him best in the long term of a career. But if you're one to be upset that the A's drafted him 9th overall in 2018 and then even signed him to a deal that he is now seeming to edge away from or maybe ultimately back out of, like, you really can't be upset with that. He didn't go through with this yet. It's not like he started playing baseball and has now changed his mind. There were some provisions to get out of this. Let's also not forget, since he signed that deal, he had a tremendous college football season, he won the Heisman, and he has since been rumored to be a potential first overall draft pick in the NFL. That clearly complicates the matter. Number three, and I'm just going off stats and what scouting reports say here. Look, Kyler has loved baseball and football equally from what we understand growing up, but maybe baseball and the potential of being a big leaguer was not always on his horizon. You look at the stats difference alone from his freshman to sophomore years, baseball-wise at Oklahoma, and there is a huge spike. And the scouting reports would also indicate that he made some major steps as a baseball player alone from his freshman to sophomore year. And quite honestly, that's why the Oakland A's drafted him as high as they did in 2018. They see something special in him, and maybe it wasn't even there 4 years ago. But they think in 4 years from now, it's definitely going to be there. So my point is that maybe Kyler had baseball sneak up on him to a certain extent, Major League Baseball sneak up on him. Football might have always been an obvious choice and an avenue and an option, and maybe his mind was always set on this track. Maybe the idea of being a big leaguer is a more recent thought, and that's why he's now having trouble making this decision. Number four out of all of this, I'm a guy that grew up watching Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson play both baseball and football back when I was a kid. And in some way, it's understandable, but it's also sad that we may never see a dual sport athlete like that again. Yeah, teams pay a lot to the athletes. Teams expect a lot out of the athletes, but there was just always something so special about watching Bo out there and knowing that he was also a great football player, or maybe Deion Sanders, who was probably a better football player, but that was also out there on the baseball field for the Atlanta Braves. It was very interesting to watch that dynamic and think how cool that was as a kid. This is an all-around athlete, so good that he's a professional in two sports at the same time. Yeah, maybe I'm sentimental about it, but that's kind of upsetting. It doesn't seem like we'll ever be able to see that again. Number five, last but not least, I know a lot of people out there are saying, well, Kyler initially signed up for baseball. He could now get drafted by football, try that out for a couple years. If it just doesn't work in the NFL, he'll back right out and go back to baseball. I honestly don't see that as logistically possible. If you're going to get away from baseball completely for a couple years, which you would have to do, trying to pursue a career as an NFL quarterback, I don't know how easy it is to get right back on the horse and be at that professional level or on track to be a big leaguer anytime soon. I think that's a far-fetched idea. I've heard it several times. I really feel both ways. If he makes a decision to play baseball, it would be tremendously hard to back out of that without, quarterbacking a team for a couple seasons and go right into the NFL. And that's the other thing. There's no minor leagues of the NFL. So maybe he goes into a backup role immediately as opposed to right now just keeping the train rolling and being a starter. But let's say he tries football for a season or two. It doesn't work out. I mean, try going back to hitting a fastball all of a sudden when you haven't really swung a bat regularly in 2 years. I just don't see how that works. I'll close it out with this. My honest best to Kyler Murray in this decision. Like I said, there's a lot of people out there with vested interests in his ultimate decision. I just want the best for him. Like I said, I do have a preference, but I promise you, Kyler, I will not hold it against you no matter what you decide, whether it's football or baseball. I know this is a tough choice. I hope you make the best one for yourself, your family, and your future.